Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, last week we heard the episode entitled Rukmini's Hoping Against Hope. And that is technically known as Asha Bandha. There is a sequence of scientific events in the Bhava Stage. The Bhava Stage is the preliminary stage before Prema Bhakti, or pure love of Godhead, the ultimate goal. And there are 9 symptoms of specific bhava, which indicates that someone is just on the threshold of ecstatic love of Godhead. And one of those 9 symptoms is called Asha Bandha, where the devotee feels hopeless, but still the devotee thinks, yes, even though it feels hopeless, still I'm keeping up some hope that Krishna will indeed deliver me. And that was the case with Rukmini. As we learned in the last few episodes, Rukmini's marriage to Shishupal was already settled because of her elder brother Rukmi. And although everyone in the family wanted Rukmini to marry Krishna, because of Rukmini's father, King Bhishmaka, relented and agreed that she would be married to Shishupal. So Rukmini, although she was heartbroken, she did not unnecessarily lament. She used her intelligence. After all, she is the daughter of a king. She is a princess. So she was not ignorant. She had learned a thing or two. So Rukmini decided to send a letter to Krishna. And she selected a Brahmana as her messenger. And the Brahmana delivered the message to Krishna in Dwaraka. And basically the message said, "My dear Krishna, I am about to be married to Shishupal within 1 day or so. So if you indeed want to deliver me, if you indeed want me as your first wife, then you have to come and kidnap me." And Rukmini even gave Krishna a tactical way which would minimize the violence, because such marriages where the girl is kidnapped is called Rakshasa-style marriage. There are other types of marriage called Gandharva, or love marriage, where the couple simply exchanges the word Om and they agree to be husband and wife. There are examples of such in the Bhagavatam. So Rukmini's message to Krishna was, you have to come and kidnap me just when I am leaving the Durga temple, because Durga was one of the family deities and Rukmini was worshipping Durga Mata every day. And so Rukmini suggested that that would be the time when she would come out of the Durga temple. That's when Krishna should come and kidnap her and take her away. And Rukmini in her letter also indicated that if Krishna did not find her suitable, if Krishna did not think that Rukmini was worthy, Rukmini stated in her letter that she was prepared to take hundreds of births and perform severe penances and austerities. Only she wanted that Krishna marry her. And we remember, Rukmini had never seen Krishna. She had heard about Krishna from Narada Muni and other rishis and sadhus and sages when they would visit the court of King Bhishmaka, but simply about hearing about Krishna, Rukmini decided, I am only going to be married to Krishna, nobody else. So Rukmini, in our last episode, time was coming and still there was no sign of the Brahmana and Krishna. But then, just at the last moment, Rukmini started to feel quivering in the left side of her body. And Prabhupada pointed out that such quivering on the left side indicates auspiciousness. And right after these symptoms, Rukmini saw the Brahmana. And the Brahmana indicated that yes, Krishna had come and Krishna was going to deliver her. So that's how we ended last episode. So today's episode is called Krishna Kidnaps Rukmini. And before I continue, I must pay my respectful obeisances to my spiritual father, my Lord and Master, my ever well-wishing friend, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As you see in Bunky Bihari's room where she is attending this class, she has a beautiful, is that a drawing of Prabhupada? Yes, that's a drawing. Nice detailed drawing of Srila Prabhupada. For those who don't know, Bunky Bihari is a devotee in Vancouver, Canada, and for dozens of years she has gone out on book distribution practically every day of her life as a devotee. And she is very, very sincere and serious devotee. I have met her several times, so I'm very happy that she is joining our group, and I bless her. And I hope you will bless her that she can continue distributing Prabhupada's books for another 50 years. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let us begin today's episode. Krishna Kidnaps Rukmini. When King Bhishmaka heard that Krishna and Balaram had come, he invited them to see the marriage ceremony of his daughter. Immediately, Bhishmaka arranged to receive Krishna and Balaram, along with their soldiers, in a suitable garden house. As was the Vedic custom, the king offered Krishna and Balaram honey and fresh washed cloths. And yes, we will hear more about honey later on when we hear some pastimes of Balaram with the river Yamuna, and we will learn how Balaram becomes intoxicated by drinking a beverage known as Varuni. And this Varuni is a kind of liquid honey oozing from certain trees. And so that is called Varuni beverage. And Balaram is very, very fond of this. And in many ISKCON temples, on Balaram's appearance day, they make a kind of honey drink. And they also make something called Balarama Cigars. And no, you don't smoke them. Balarama cigars are long pieces like this of some kind of fried dough, and it is drenched in honey. And so if you eat too many, not a good idea, because honey can also be intoxicating, even in the name of prasad, so you have to be careful. 1 or 2 Balaram cigars, but if you eat 10 or 12, you're on your own. So we'll hear about that later, but it appears that Balaram is very fond of this honey beverage, Varuni beverage. Bhishmaka was hospitable not only to Krishna, Balaram, and kings such as Jarasandha, but also to many other kings and princes, according to their personal strength, age, and material possessions. So, we're not rid of Jarasandha just yet, because we remember that although Krishna defeated Jarasandha 17 times, the last time, the 18th time, Krishna displayed his pastime as Ranachor. He ran away. And this is why Krishna ran away. Because Krishna knew Rukmini is about to contact me. So it's very interesting how Jarasandha is again showing up. Out of curiosity and eagerness, the people of Kundina assembled before Krishna and Balaram to drink the nectar of their beauty. With tearful eyes, they offered Krishna and Balaram their silent respects. They were very much pleased, considering Lord Krishna the most suitable match for Rukmini. They were so eager to unite Krishna and Rukmini that they prayed to Lord Narayan, "Our dear Lord, if we have performed any pious activities with which you may be satisfied, kindly be merciful upon us and accept the hand of Rukmini." It appears that Rukmini was a very popular princess, and all the citizens, out of intense love for her, prayed for her best fortune. In the meantime, Rukmini, being very nicely dressed and protected by bodyguards, came out of the palace to visit the temple of Ambika, goddess Durga. Prabhupada will now explain something to us. Prabhupada says, deity worship in the temple has been in existence since the beginning of Vedic culture. There is a class of men described in Bhagavad Gita as Veda Vada Rata. That, of course, is from the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. They believe only in the Vedic ritualistic worship. Such foolish people may here take note that although this marriage of Krishna and Rukmini took place more than 5,000 years ago, there were arrangements for temple worship. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Yanti Deva Vrata Devan." The worshippers of the demigods attain the abodes of the demigods. There were many people who worshiped demigods, and many who directly worshiped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana. So the system of demigod worship was directed mainly to Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesha, the sun god, and goddess Durga. Lord Shiva and goddess Durga were worshipped even by the royal families. But other minor demigods were worshipped by silly lower-class people. As far as Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are concerned, they simply worship Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Antabattu phalang tesham, tad bhavati alpa medasam, devan deva yajo yanti, mad bhakta yanti mam api." Krishna says in Gita, the worship of demigods is condemned but not forbidden. There it is clearly stated that less intelligent men, Alpa Medasa, worship the demigods for material benefit. On the other hand, even though Rukmini was the goddess of fortune, Rukmini went to the temple of goddess Durga because the family deity was worshipped there. From Rukmini's own quarters to the temple of Bhavani, Rukmini went by palanquin and was thus easily protected. Only for the last 12 to 15 feet from the palace to the temple area did Rukmini go on foot, along with royal bodyguards stationed outside the temple on all sides. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that as Rukmini proceeded towards the temple of goddess Durga, within her heart, Rukmini always thought of the lotus feet of Krishna. So I'm going to make my own comment here. So this is significant that even though Rukmini is going to the temple of goddess Durga, who is she actually thinking of? Krishna. So this shows you the power of Krishna's attraction. This shows the power of Bhakti Marg. Even she's going to the temple of goddess Durga, still all Rukmini can think about is Krishna. We continue. Therefore, when Rukmini went to the temple, it was not with the intention of an ordinary person who goes to beg for material benefits. Rukmini's only goal was Krishna. So that is the key. That is the key. At the end of our class today, Shrilesh has asked me to say something about Lord Mahadev, Lord Shiva, Shambhu. So this is to be pointed out because ISKCON devotees and myself personally have been asked so many times by people, "Oh, Prabhuji, can I worship Lord Shiva?" Yes, you can worship Lord Shiva. Yes, you can worship Goddess Durga. Yes, you can worship Ganesh. But if you want to be devotee, you do not worship these personalities for something material which is limited and temporary. And that is exactly in the Gita, in the 7th chapter, Krishna speaks 4 verses about worshiping demigods. And in those 4 verses, Krishna points out, and it was already just mentioned, that only less intelligent people worship demigods for material benefits. Why? Because they're limited and temporary. So yes, you can worship any demigod, provided the prayer is, "O worshipful demigod, please make me more attached to Krishna." That changes the whole nature. That changes everything. So as Prabhupada says here, therefore when Rukmini went to the temple, it was not with the intention of an ordinary person who goes to beg for some material benefit. Rukmini's only goal was Krishna. As Rukmini proceeded towards the temple, she was silent and grave. Rukmini's mother and Rukmini's girlfriend were by Rukmini's side, and there was a wife of a Brahmana in the center. Surrounding Rukmini were royal bodyguards. As the procession continued, various musical sounds were heard. Conch shells, panavas, and other drums, and there were bugles of different sizes, such as turiyas and bairis, which all combined to make a sound which was not only auspicious, but very sweet to hear. This reminds me, during the days when Prabhupada was on this planet in ISKCON, I remember, I think it was around 1976, Prabhupada wanted, and it started, I think, with Mayapur Temple. Prabhupada wanted the sound of Shanai to be played continuously throughout the day. Prabhupada said that the Shanai sound was very auspicious. So temples started to implement that. Of course, temples outside of India could not get a live Shanai player. So there was a tape that most temples used. And outside the temple, on speakers, all day long, you could hear the sound of the Shanai tape. I remember very distinctly Los Angeles Temple, for many, many years, used that Shanai tape. I don't think they do it anymore. But for many, many years, they used that Shanai sound because Prabhupada said it was auspicious. We continue with our story. Thousands of wives of respectable brahmanas were present, all dressed very nicely with suitable ornaments. They presented Rukmini with flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, and a variety of colorful garments just to assist Rukmini in worshiping Lord Shiva and Goddess Durga. Some of these ladies were very old and knew perfectly well how to chant various prayers to Goddess Durga and Lord Shiva. So, followed by Rukmini and others, they led these prayers before the deity. Rukmini offered her prayers to the deity by saying, "My dear Goddess Durga, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, as well as to your children." Prabhupada now comments, Goddess Durga has 4 famous children, 2 daughters, the goddess of fortune Lakshmi, and the goddess of learning Saraswati, and 2 famous sons, Lord Ganesha and Lord Kartikeya. Since Goddess Durga is always worshipped along with her famous children, Rukmini specifically offered her respectful obeisances to the deity in that way. However, her prayers were special. Ordinary people pray to Goddess Durga for material wealth, fame, profit, strength, and so on. Rukmini, however, desired desired to have Krishna as her husband, and therefore Rukmini prayed that the deity be pleased with her and bless her with that benediction. Since Rukmini desired only Krishna, Rukmini's worship of the demigods is not condemned. And while Rukmini was praying, she presented a variety of items before the deity, chief of which were water, different kinds of flames, incense, garments, garlands, and various foods prepared with ghee, such as puris and kachoris. Rukmini also offered fruits, sugarcane, betel nuts, and spices. And I would like to make a comment. Notice how it says she offered various foods prepared with ghee, not gulda, not corn oil. No, ghee. Yes. Very, very instructive. Ghee, ghee, ghee. Actually, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, There is one passage where Prabhupada quotes even a famous atheist, Charvak Muni. And Charvak Muni, even though he was an atheist, he said, ghee is so important. You either beg, borrow, or steal ghee. That's how valuable is ghee. And I'm here to announce that I've been married to my wife since 1980. She has never cooked in oil, and that's why I'm so nice and happy. My wife, till this day, only cooks either in butter or ghee. Never, never has she cooked for me in oil. So that's what makes a happy marriage. Cook with ghee. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Now, of course, one should not overindulge, but the point is being made. Okay, let's continue. Enough of my nonsense. With great devotion, Rukmini offered these to the deity according to the regulative principles directed by the old Brahmana ladies. After this ritualistic ceremony, the ladies offered the remnants of the food to Rukmini as prasadam, which Rukmini accepted with great respect. Then Rukmini offered obeisances to the Brahmana ladies and then to goddess Durga. After the business of deity worship was finished, Rukmini caught hold of the hand of one of her girlfriends with her own hand, which was decorated with a jeweled ring. And Rukmini left the temple in the company of the others. All the princes and visitors who came to Kundina for the marriage had assembled outside the temple just to see Rukmini. All the princes were especially eager to see Rukmini because they all actually thought secretly that they would have Rukmini as their wife. But struck with wonder upon seeing Rukmini, they thought Rukmini was especially manufactured by the Creator just to bewilder all the great chivalrous princes. Rukmini's body was well constructed, the middle portion being thin. Rukmini's high hips were adorned with a jeweled locket. Rukmini had pink lips, and the beauty of Rukmini's face was enhanced by her slightly scattered hair and by different kinds of earrings. The bodily luster and beauty of Rukmini appeared as if painted by an artist, perfectly presenting beauty following the descriptions of great poets. So, before we go further, I mention this all the time. One of the reasons why I continue to follow this path of Krishna consciousness is because in our books, such as Bhagavatam and others, we get very specific details about God. So notice the specific description given by Shukadeva Goswami as he's telling this to Parikshit Maharaj. She has pink lips. She has scattered hair, different earrings, jeweled lockets. She's sumadhyama, meaning the middle portion being thin. This is detailed information. What other religion has such details about God and his consorts? They don't have it. So this is why I continue to study these books, because you're not going to get such detailed information elsewhere. Prabhupada continues. All of Rukmini's bodily features indicated that Rukmini was just a youth, no more than 13 or 14 years old. Rukmini's beauty was specifically intended to attract the attention of Krishna. All the princes gazed upon Rukmini's beautiful features, but Rukmini was not at all proud. Rukmini's eyes moved restlessly, and when Rukmini smiled very simply, like an innocent girl, Rukmini's teeth appeared just like jasmine buds. Rukmini was anxious that her locks of hair might impede her vision, since Rukmini was most eager to see her beloved Krishna. Expecting Krishna to take her away at any moment, Rukmini proceeded slowly towards her home. Rukmini's legs moved just like a full-grown swan, and Rukmini's ankle bells tinkled mildly. The chivalrous princes assembled there were so overwhelmed by Rukmini's beauty, they almost became unconscious, and they fell from their horses and elephants. I love this description. This is beauty. Just see. Rukmini was so beautiful that her beauty knocked these princes and kings off their elephants and horses. That is beauty. Full of lust, these kings and princes hopelessly desired Rukmini's hand, comparing their own beauty to Rukmini. However, Srimati Rukmini was not interested in any of them, for in Rukmini's heart, she was simply expecting Krishna to come at any moment and carry her away. As Rukmini was adjusting the ornaments on a finger of her left hand, Rukmini happened to look upon the princes and suddenly saw that Krishna was present amongst them. Srimati Rukmini Devi felt shy as she looked from the corners of her eyes at the other kings, for Rukmini did not want to meet the glances of these inferior, lusty princes. Now, although Rukmini had never before seen Krishna, Rukmini was always thinking of Krishna. Thus, Rukmini had no difficulty recognizing Krishna amongst the princely order. Unconcerned with the other princes, Krishna immediately took the opportunity to place Rukmini on his chariot, which was marked by a flag bearing the image of Garuda. Krishna then proceeded slowly, without fear, taking Rukmini away exactly as a lion takes a deer from the midst of jackals. Meanwhile, Balarama appeared on the scene with the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty. Jarasandha, who had many times before experienced defeat by Krishna, roared out, "How is this? Krishna is taking Rukmini away from us without any opposition? Ha! What is the use of our being chivalrous fighters with arrows? My dear princes, just look. We are losing our reputation. Krishna is just like a jackal taking booty from a lion." Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.